gonna do it? And we're live. We'll see how long before Trish shows up.
It's happening.
So are you still writing new material for your book, or are you strictly like in an editing stage?
Well, I'm done my editing for my fourth one in my series. The one that I'm doing right now is like I basically have like skipped way ahead in the future. I'm just like, okay, we're gonna go with this, and then there will be new characters, and it will make sense, and it will be refreshing, and then I'll go back and write the real fifth book, like in a month or two. Where you'll be like, oh, this one's like an offshoot of like future.
So are you going to be able to publish it in that order, or do you have to go back and write to fill in gaps?
I could probably publish this future one, like, and you don't really need to know what went on in the other one other than like heroes existed. Because I'm doing like the trick where it's like, oh, I'm sort of telling you, here's how everything evolved, but I'm not like showing you the tiny details of like, here's how it all happened. So then when I go back, I can be like, oh, you already kind of know what happens. And then I'm just like showing you the nitty gritty of like, here's how all my, like, basically I'm doing a bunch of stupid things that I like am interested in, where I'm like, I'm gonna jam them all in here and be like, okay. Like, I want my superheroes to become like leads of a reality superhero crime fighting TV show.
So right now, the book that I am writing is based on the serial. I'm retooling it, but I'm fleshing it out, and it's so much better right now. But it takes place, originally was only 100 years in the future, but I was like, people 100 years ago remember things, so let's push it 200 years. And something's happened where all data was wiped out. So all data stored. And so her primary job is she basically takes newspapers and scans them, and they're redigitizing everything they can get their hands on. Mm-hmm. But I wanted a cognitive block between the events of my first book and the new book. So there's a lot of callback. Like they can go into virtual reality. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I want to be a superhero in this one. And she winds up actually being the avatar based on a hero in the first series. She doesn't know it, but the reader who's read the first series would be like, wait, is that the same person?
Yeah.
And there's even the characters in the first series, they're a piece of like a religion that starts to be built, and that religion in 200 years is like full circle, but like you get to see like how the religion has kind of warped the truth a little. Mm-hmm. But I needed something where I could detach from the original storyline and still stay in the same geography. So apparently 200 years is enough for mankind to forget everything.
Well, and I don't know how it'll be for the digital age, but like I hope stuff will like survive better than like crumbling paper. And
but can you imagine if all of a sudden everything on the internet, like all gone. Like gone?
That would be like my nightmare of like pretty much my one that I'm working on right now. I'm pretty much like skipping ahead where it's like, oh, my heroes from my first series end up becoming like crazy celebrities and all that jazz. and they're all on like a long running like reality show where the crew like follows them around doing like heroic stuff, and then it gets canceled. And then in the book that I'm working now is like the future where it's like, oh, my characters now remember watching reruns of that show. And they're like, yeah, wouldn't it be great if that show came back? And I'm kind of doing the whole, oh, okay. They're gonna do like a reboot of the show, and my characters are all gonna be like, I want in on that, and they have to like apply and do the crazy like, why are you good to be on this new team? And like,
Um,
yeah, it'll work.
I really like when superheroes address simple things like money. Like Bruce Wayne having unlimited funds is just a little, it's too easy. So like I really like the boys for the fact that like they get corporate sponsorship or
Yeah,
like, they have
and that's
jobs.
super interesting. It's like because it roots it in like reality, where yeah, you would go if it was you as a superhero, you'd be like, how am I going to get paid for this? I can't just go around and do charity work. You could if you were that type of person, but like most people would be like, how do I monetize this?
Well, and I really like Spider-Man for the sake of like in the earlier issues, he really does like he goes and works for the um oh, God, what's his
The
newspaper?
Bugle.
The
Oh, the
Bugle.
Daily Bugle. Yeah.
He goes and works for them because he basically he needs money and like he's a teenager with no income and he makes comments about like, oh, I don't have money for this or that. And the fact that it gets worked in that he's taking photos of himself and basically capitalizing on his own heroics,
Hmm.
I would like to think that most of us would probably do that.
Yeah. Ugh. Him in that poor little dingy apartment for so long. You're like, oh, relatable. Everything's falling apart.
Um, uh,
But yeah, I'm also coming up with like what would future currency be, because clearly my characters want fame so that they can be better in their lives.
you know what you should watch for some inspiration? It was a it Powers. It was on the PlayStation
Oh,
Network.
I
Um,
heard of it, but I never watched it.
so there's one character who she's trying to up her cred. Like street cred is actual like influencer style currency. And so like they go out and do like little heroic things or they show up to like big events to show off their powers because basically popularity will push you up. Uh,
Mhm.
and there's a subplot where one of the characters is actually like actively trying to go from one of those teenagers doing teenage things to becoming a hero. um like the rest of the plots were mildly interesting, but I really liked hers just because I think that most teenagers would do that.
Yeah. I'm also aging up my heroes in this one where it's like they're not high schoolers, they're like getting ready to graduate college. So I'm tired of writing about going to homeroom and like being stuck needing to be home. I'm like, no, my characters need to have control of their own schedules, and I don't want their parents being worried about them being out in the world because I've done it for like 4 books.
Well, and if someone starts reading your series, they're going to age up at some point.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's definitely smart to progress with your reader. Um,
Yeah, because I don't want it to be like South Park where they're the kids forever. And you're like, man, they're never leaving fourth grade.
Yeah, I still remember when they went from third grade to fourth grade. Like,
Oh boy, I love that show so much, but I'm like, oh my gosh, they're I guess if you had 365 episodes, it would be one school year worth of stuff. Ugh. But yeah, this is like the fun part where you just make you figure out what it works. But now I would say I'm about halfway done drafting where I'm almost at the midpoint and I'm like, oh, I've been just putting placeholders for all these details that I need to know. And now I can't just put like XXX and do like search and find later. I really have to know who like everybody's powers, all the how it all works. So I'm kind of like going back through and fleshing it all out. And I made like a giant list of powers with like, here are the subsets so I don't get stuck doing just what my imagination will come up with, because then I just keep doing my favorite ones and everyone can just fly everywhere.
well, that was one of the reasons why my main character is a teleporter, is because me personally as a writer, I have a lot of difficulty doing travel. Like, I hate characters who get in a car to go somewhere. And I still remember Laurel K. Hamilton and her Anita Blake series. There's a spot where Anita Blake is looking at a crime scene, and crime scene stuff happens, and then she gets in the car and they're driving and she's recounting her own expertise. So the author saved all the analysis for the car ride. And then every time she's like, oh, he had to hit the brake. I'm like we're talking about blood and guts all over the place, and now all of a sudden I'm out of the story as you slam a brakes. Like,
I don't know. For me, sometimes that it makes him. I get hung up when a story is so breakneck paced that I'm like, do these characters ever eat food or sleep? Where it's so like sometimes I do like the downtime of like, hey, they still have to get from here to there, or they're just standing around now. Their day is done. Like what? So it could be a good spot to give information.
I included in the series that I'm writing right now. She's on the lam, and she's in the irradiated New England where it's been looted over and over, so there's nothing to be found. And like I go pretty in depth about feminine hygiene products because it's just one of those, you don't think about it, much like going to the bathroom. Like, no one wants to deal with superheroes like being like, wait a second, pee break. But
No.
If there's a spot where you can work it in and it makes sense to the story, then by all means.
Yeah, if it was like a straight up superhero comedy, then I'd be like, oh, this is hilarious. It's in first person. They're commenting on how ridiculous it is that they have to stop now in the middle of like a giant New York fight.
I mean, Avengers would have been so much more interesting. Wait a second. I'm gonna go pee behind that rock.
It's like they kind of did that with the whole like shawarma thing, where it's like, hey, we're gonna get food after this, and it's like, yeah, that is what a real person would be worried about after so long. You're like, I'm exhausted with all this fighting. I'm hungry.
And realistically, like, yeah, you've been working up, like you've been at like the gym, like slaughtering evil, and now
their calorie intake must be like ridiculous. You miss a meal, Thor. Holy moly.
Yeah, I definitely think some of that will knock you out of the story, but if it's weaved in a good way, I definitely think it can be oh yeah, these superheroes are still actual real people.
Yeah. because they do it all the time with the like high school kid characters where it's like, oh, I have this report due. If I don't do it, like, but I also have to save the world. And I'm like, yep, I've seen that. I've seen that so many times, but it doesn't really get old because
One of my favorite artists, her name is Lara Zombie, did an entire series of Wonder Woman, and it is the funniest thing in the world, and it's, I think, probably the most accurate to reality. It's just a picture of Wonder Woman's butt, and she's like picking out a wedgie. and there's another one where her bloomers are like around her ankles, and she's sitting on the toilet leaning forward, and like she's holding her lasso in one hand, just going pee. And it's hilarious because it's still Wonder Woman doing just things that everyone else does.
ordinary things.
I
They do
mean,
that a lot. And did you ever read? It's not really superhero, but did you read the comic series Saga?
it's actually on my to read list for the next book club.
They highly recommended, and I collected those stupid individual issues forever until finally it was like I have over 100 now. I'm just gonna wait for the collection to come out. But they do that sort of stuff a lot, where it's like character giving birth, and you're like, well, this was really inconvenient. We're trying to flee this planet, and it's like, could you please like do this quickly? Like, oh no. Right,
Um,
it all.
Hey.
hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
It's okay. I took a sleeping pill last night and I'm still a little groggy.
Oh my gosh.
That was my whole day yesterday. I messaged people yesterday and was like, "Can you text me in the morning to make sure I get up?" Because
Oh, jeez.
yesterday, like, there's a period between like 3 and 9. I don't really remember. It's just all very.
Oh.
Sleep
Oh my God, dude.
meds are good and horrible at the same time.
Yeah. We're just having a ton of sleep issues over here, my husband and I. So he had been taking sleeping pills and he's like, I don't want to do it, every night. I'm like, I get that. And I hadn't been sleeping. And so he's like, tonight's your turn. Because we try to have one of us at least that would wake up quickly in case the kids have like an emergency or something. And so we can't both be on sleep meds at the same time. And no matter what it is, it's an over-the-counter one. So it's like really not, powerful at all. But I always end up being groggy for like 2 or 3 hours after I wake up in the morning from it. So it's just a bummer.
Yeah, same thing happens to me when I take like the stupid melatonin gummies, where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll do 2 tonight. And then I'm like, so much for getting up early. You can shut up, alarm. I don't care. And I even tried to trick myself by being like, I'll have it say like, time to get up and work on this and that. And I'll just be like, no, I gave up on that.
Yeah, morning is just rough. And
Yeah.
and not having, so I'm used to getting up at 5:30 to go to work, and now I'm sleeping till like 9, which is glorious.
That is glorious.
Earlier this week, I definitely like went to bed at like 2 a.m. and I haven't done that in years. So I got up at 9 and I was like, oh God, it's just like being back at work.
You're like, I'm just as tired. What is going on?
It is horrible.
Yeah, if your body is used to doing the same routine, even I try to sleep in sometimes for like an extra hour, and I'll be like, I'll set my alarm an hour later, and my body will still be like, oh, the sun is up. You usually get up at this time. And it's like, curse you, sleep habit. Like, I don't need to get up right now, but it's like, you just end up laying in bed and being like, oh, great.
I think Bard of today was telling me he loves the mug.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's yours because mine is not.
Yeah. Sorry, Bard. I'm a little slow on the uptick today. Thank you very much. I'll post.
Yeah, my
I think you should use this as inspiration for an interlude for your heroes. Have them accidentally take sleeping pills, like at a high dosage, and then being like, oh, I've been getting all these text messages from like the people in charge that are like begging me for help. I just missed it. Sorry. Like 3 buildings are down.
I might do that for my superhero romance. I'm reading a romance plotting book right now, and it's all about the emotional plotting of romance stories in particular. But I'm reading this, I'm like, you could actually apply this to anything that is really quite character driven. And the whole premise of the book is just to get you writing. So it's like you don't have to have this incredibly detailed outline, but you'd have to know these certain pieces of it in order to just start writing. And then as you write, your process will, as you discover things, it'll kind of fill in the blanks.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I going with this? See? Sleeping pills. Seriously.
This is me without sleeping pills.
Oh my God. I don't even know what's wrong with me right now. Maybe I should just stop talking.
Did you already plot out your romance?
No, I've got a couple of different options for couples. Like that's kind of where I was starting with it. The thing is that I'm not sure about. My series is set in the past, and I do want to use my same universe, just a different city, a city that I haven't used in my universe yet. Mainly because I'm lazy and I don't want to do extra world building. Yeah, and also I think I might get some readers from that I currently have if it's rooted in the same universe. I think they would really like that. So. But I'm trying to figure out, like, do I want the romance series to take place in the 60s? Do I want to jump ahead in time and do it in the 80s? Because, oh my God, the 80s would be so much fun. And the 80s is kind of big right now. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what I want to do. I think I'm leaning towards the 80s to really make it distinct. But then I would have to figure out, well, what's going to happen in 20 years, like, in my universe. So,
well, and yeah. You just missed the conversation. We were talking about how we are both working on series that we bumped forward in time to give ourselves a breather of the original series.
Mm-hmm.
So was it a good thing for you guys? Was it a good, like?
It's been really good
for me right now. I absolutely because I'm going to write a sequel to the original. So that takes place in, like, let's say 2030, and then the sequel will be in 2035.
Okay.
The problem is I have all those things that just happened and all this turmoil and blah, blah, blah. So the sequel is actually going to change geography and go to Canada and the UK because I never once discussed anything happening outside the US. But this is happening in the same city, but I needed everything that was current events to become legend.
Okay.
That allowed me to push things forward. And now it allows me to, like, if I don't remember an exact fact, it was lost in time and it's being misremembered or misinterpreted.
That's actually that's a neat little get out of jail free card. I think I'm going to have, like, what I think I want to do because I have a different series planned for the 80s anyway, which are my Champions Academy kids, like, all grown up, and now they've got their own super teams. And I think I'm going to pull the trigger on what I had originally planned, which was that vigilantes just become a thing, and each city has their own rules and laws about how vigilantes are regulated and how super teams are regulated. And just kind of do it like that.
Could your romance actually help bridge those timelines and maybe one of them be set in the 60s, 70s, 80s?
I don't know. Putting it in a series like that's possible. These are the things I don't know, though, because I want to make sure I don't piss off romance writers. They're the last group of people I want to piss off, honestly. I love you, romance readers. You're wonderful. So I want to make sure I'm not breaking any fundamental rules which I know there's not that many, but if I had a series where I jumped decades like that, would that be a problem? That's the only question I have.
I think as long as there was still a tie-in between your novels, like couple in the 60s, one of them is the aunt or uncle of the next decade. And maybe the next decade is they're slightly older and the former roommate of this
that would
person.
actually work, because
I do like that, because when you look at like just the Marvel movies, like I remember I was super thrilled when they were like, oh yeah, the person who helped make Captain America is Tony Stark's dad. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd watch a whole thing of his life.
Or like Peggy Carter is one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was like, yes.
Yeah,
By the way, if you're not still watching S.H.I.E.L.D., Peggy Carter in the last episode has a role. I mean, she's not, the actress isn't there, but her character plays a role in the show.
I'll be honest, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. lost me around the time where they got like the big space blob that came and possessed What's-His-Bucket. And then we had this whole really bad storyline of like, oh, I love you, Daisy, and I'm a psycho. And oh, okay, you're a psycho. And then she discovers her parents and they're bad guys too. And isn't this delightful? They just lost me. I was like, all right.
And it's not getting any better. I'll say that. Like, this is the last season. Thankful. Very thankful. I'm sticking it out because it's my only superhero fix at the moment.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, actually, that might work in terms of generation hopping, because the short story I'm doing for the anthology are 2 high school kids at the final end of the year party, and it's their last chance to hook up. So it's a happy for now. I know, right? I'm just
I love the happy for nows. The happy for nows get me every time. Where I'm like,
I know.
Oh, so much more to go. You have so many milestones left as a couple.
Well, and they actually like they hook up at the end of the year party, and they're like, they're sweethearts for the summer, and then I am gonna break them up, and like they go their separate ways in college and whatnot, and then I want to bring them back together as adults. So it's a second chance, like it's almost like they meet up again kind of a thing.
What if they become couple B in the next book?
That's what I'm thinking.
There's a new couple as the focus, but maybe they're a foursome, like they go out on a double date. So that they do come back together, but they send off into this new story with a new couple.
I was thinking, as you were talking, I was like, I could totally do that, because if I set the short story in the 60s and then I come back to them and it's the 70s, they're adults now. And, lots of shit has happened. And
what if in the 80s one, they're also the couple, so we get to see them, and maybe now they have kids. Like the new couple is the babysitter of their newborn or something.
That would be
So they're always there. We get to see the happily for now be more for now, but they open up to other plots.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think I want to do that. I also had the idea of like the family of like 6 brothers, because I mean, my God, how many romance stories have we read where it's like they have 6 brothers and then, oh, look, now they have 5 uncles. And it's just like, oh my God. So I've also thought about that. Like one of them owns a bar, because that would be cool. Anyway.
For my romance, I'm going to do, for the anthology, it's a support circle, like a support group, and I need to rewrite it to retool a couple things, but the guy who mediates the support group winds up, kind of falling for this other dude. And that takes place in Chicago post events of my superhero series. So eventually, now that they're becoming more okay, because the support group is for people with powers who do not want to be superheroes. Like they just want
to be I love. I love that idea so much. I can't even tell you.
But I'm going to then have them move to the city where all the people with powers are congregating, and they're going to continue doing the support group to help people who are, they're being put here for safety or whatever, and they're okay with the fact that they might have powers, but like there's some inner conflict, and I think it's just nice.
Mhm.
Poof, everyone in this group, I already have internal conflict built into the plot.
That is sweet. That is really nice.
So I think the first person in the romance series is going to be like a teacher who just wants to be a teacher and is teaching kids with powers in a school it's not a school yet. It's basically like 3 teachers building this, and they have a thing for one of the other teachers, and
What other superhero thing that comes to mind that has a school full of superhero teenagers?
and then
That's awesome.
That opens up the potential for an Academy series.
Yep, it does. That is brilliant, man. Good on you.
But I really like because you can write them fast and you can use the connectors to your other series.
I am really all in for the interconnected universe. I mean, it can get really wonky, like if you try to MCU it, and let's be honest, there were times I was like, okay, you guys are twisting yourselves in pretzels trying to make all of this line up, and it's not working. But if you keep it simple, it works out really well. And I have this big crossover idea that I am going to get to someday, but I have to publish these other series first.
Well, I think what I really like is, okay, so I'll be the first one to admit I watched Beverly Hills 90210. Like,
no shame, dude. So did I.
I had a poster of Jason Priestley on my wall in my room. Like, we should have known some things pretty early on. But as an adult, they when they brought 90210 back, I only watched it for the cameos.
Oh my God, you watched that?
Oh God, I watched the thing to the end.
I couldn't do
Are
it,
you talking about the CW one? The reboot that was like had Lori Loughlin.
It had everybody pretty much.
Geez,
to the point where I only watched it because Jenny Garth was the school counselor, and
who let her be a school counselor?
Yeah, I mean, seriously, just bad choice all around. And so, like, she would make comments, and she would be talking to one of the students and be like, "Yeah, you need to be really careful, like." Falling for the bad boy, that never got you anywhere. And I was like, ha, Easter egg, I know what you're talking about. Those little weird moments. And even, I don't know, the best thing was it got weird. They have a new Beverly Hills 90210 show about the actors trying to get back together for a reboot.
Oh my God!
You should steal that and have it be all your heroes from the Academy needing to return together because of public demand, but they all hate each other somehow.
Oh my God, Franklin, you write that book. That would be amazing.
All right. Well, in the one that I'm writing right now, the Crazy Future one, I do have the basic premise is that the characters are all auditioning to be part of a new like television superhero reality type show, and my main character is doing it out of his love for the original series that he watched like religiously, and he's like, yeah, we're doing it for the honor, but then like half of the other characters are all doing it for like selfish reasons, and they're all gonna like fight with each other. It's like, you're just doing this
entirely on board for this
series. Yes
superheroes reality TV. So you guys remember the Stan Lee superhero reality TV show?
Oh my God!
You're talking about the Stan Lee one?
Now I do. I had blocked it out. Thanks for that.
It was average people dressed up as superheroes that wanted to be superheroes, and it was all about them.
It was terrible.
Oh God, it was so bad.
So bad.
It was everything I wanted. Everything.
That was like You had to watch it like as if it was a satire of a reality show where it's like, yep, you're not on Face Off or like whatever it is, but you're doing your best.
And,
Oh my
and
God.
still to this day, I don't know if it was serious. Like, it could have all been just one huge gag, and I don't care. I was along for the ride.
At the very end, Stanley is just like, Excelsior, you watched to the end. Like, oh, thanks, man.
Every time he would pop on, I was like, dude, you're keeping a straight face so well. Like, I do not want to play poker with you. I'm going to rewatch that series now.
Oh my God, dude. You
It
should
went
do a
for-
watch party. You should do a watch party with that.
I'm
That
going to see
should
what I
be,
can find on YouTube. I will so do that.
yeah, that should be the next watch party. That would be hilarious. Do we have a writing sprint coming up?
They
I don't see anything in the Discord. Should we just
the current one ends at 2:38. Completely missed it.
all right.
So let's say I'll for 12:55,
Okay.
and I will snag the sprint from Tammy.
Yeah.
Do
How-
it.
How
You guys have just been talking for an hour? Not that that's a bad thing.
well,
like
we
I'm one
started
to
a little
talk.
bit later,
Okay.
and then we forgot to hit live.
Yeah.
I just got up late. Like my alarm went off at 6:30. This whole week has been me running late pretty much the whole week. And I just can't seem to get ahead of anything. So today I'm like, well, I'm just going to go with it because there's nothing else to do. So yeah, I got up late again and just couldn't get moving. And so you messaged me, Remy, like at the end of my meditation. And I was like, okay, I'll finish up here. I'm feeling very centered. And then it was like, something's going on with the girls. I can hear it. And I'm like, okay. So I go out and it was nothing. It was just them being like, kids. But it's hard to tell sometimes. It's like, are they having fun or are they fighting? Like, I'm just not sure.
Are you kids role playing in there? Or are you actually killing each other?
Actually, my oldest will role play with her friends on the phone. Like they will totally lay it out. Okay, I'm the bard and I have a bow and arrow and I'm going to shoot that thing that looks like a monster right in front of me. And then another friend will be like, but then it shoots a fireball at you. And my daughter's like, oh no, I dodged out of the way. Like they totally they go for it. And it is spectacular. I'm just like, this is next level playing stuff, right? And it's all over the phone. I'm just like, you're going to be something creative when you grow up. You have to be.
Yeah. That is like great imagination.
Yes. And she's all in too. She's just like, and she came downstairs really upset once because like her cats all died. And I was like, what? She's like, in the game, my cats all died. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like it was like real trauma. It was fantastic.
Oh my Lord, that is definitely next level.
I swear, if they don't become like actors or writers or something, I will be shocked.
Oh, that reminds me. I need to follow up on IMDb and see if we're famous yet.
Yay.
Franklin, I found out that IMDb will now allow podcasts on. So I filled out, and I'm not kidding, an 8-page application.
Oh my gosh. One of my jobs one time was updating my day job's IMDb credits, and it was like so ridiculous and tedious. And it was like, we can't prove this. We need proof that this actually exists. And I wanted to be like, here is the link to the episode. It aired. The credits are at the end. It was on national television. I don't know why you can't look at this and say this is good enough proof. Like,
Yeah, you're not trying to pull one over on them.
and it's like for documentary television. So like, really, who's going to lie about working on documentary?
I know exactly. If you do, you have real issues. Seriously.
It's like, come on.
Okay, so new sprint is scheduled for 12:55. We're
Okay.
actually scheduled.
Yay. All right, I'm going to join.
Now I kind of want to plot out my.
What did my
romance stuff.
I think I might do that this weekend, honestly. I do have to plot out book 3 a little bit more. I almost have enough to get started. I have to finish book 2, but I want to be able to start drafting book 3 as soon as book 2. Scrivener, you just totally wigged out on me. Why?
Are you is this just going to be a trilogy for you?
Hold on just a sec. 75, 845.
Franklin, what yours is an ongoing series, so you're not trapped in
No, I can do whatever pretty much, thankfully.
You can quit anytime.
Yeah, I can wrap it. I basically designed it so it's like I can wrap it up for now and I could go back to it if I want. Because I didn't want to do an overarching like thing because it's too much pressure, because then I also thought if it flops, then I don't want people to be mad that I didn't finish it up.
Yeah. I'm wrapping up the main conflict in 3 books, but I am leaving it open for more. So they have the big battle, they defeat the bad guy, they win the day, woohoo! But the way I'm leaving them, I know I'm going to have people saying, oh my God, what happens next? Not in a cliffhanger kind of way, but in a way that's like, I want to see what they do now kind of the thing. So I'm leaving it open.
That's the best you can want as a reader. Yeah. Because I remember talking to somebody once, and this was before I like self-published and did all that stuff, but they were like, yeah, when I got to the end of the Harry Potter series, I was like, and still, even with that stupid epilogue, I was like, what do they do now? And she's like, that's the test of like a series that hooks me.
Yeah.
Is if I wonder what happened to these characters once I'm done. And I'm like, yep, that's like the high mark of like, you have to make it. You gotta get this sort of like hooking your reader.
Exactly.
Like my favorite book is Never Ending Story, and I found out that Michael Ende wrote 6 more short stories, but they've never been translated from German.
Oh my God.
And in his book, he has the famous quote of, but that's a story for another time. And he wrote those stories.
Give us those stories.
Like, it makes me so mad because I want to know all these little.
And it wasn't just a gimmick of Hollywood being like, we'll get to that in the next movie. It's like you actually followed through.
I love that movie.
I'm going to sprint edit because I have 38 more pages to go by Sunday.
I'm so jealous, dude.
Well, that means half this book has been edited on paper. I haven't applied anything. I haven't done anything, but I need another book 1 out. That's
yeah.
So.
All right.
Oh, it's time.
You can do it. All right. I'll see you guys in 20.
See you in 20. had to research how much a dress cost in 1945.
How much does it cost?
1995.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah,
I thought it'd be cheaper.
I thought it would be cheaper. But it's a woman's suit tailored.
Oh, okay.
But a wool and rayon dress is anywhere from $7 to $20.
Huh. 20 would probably be the real high end.
Yeah, because I needed to make a dress even more high end than that.
Oh. Fancy.
I am going to go get some coffee. I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh. I'm like halfway through a chapter of inserting information that needs to be there.
Is it working for you?
Yeah, it's just like trying to make I'm sort of like putting stuff that I realized I needed that I've been like jotting down on like a notebook somewhere. But then also like taking out stuff that is just way too much that they don't really need to know, so that it's not just an overload of information. It's like I can just show the characters doing this, and I don't need to tell why they're doing this.
Okay.
Or it's like my discovery writing is a lot of like me figuring it out for myself. They'd be like, oh, I could just move this to like a notes page, and it doesn't need to be there.
Originally, when I wrote this book, she saw the future and she could see versions of the future. And then at some point, by like midway into book one, I was like, I can't have her see different futures. She can only see one future. It is the future. Because eventually she needs to be able to grow. So it was my way of limiting her. But I didn't realize that until like 50 pages into the book. Oops.
Yeah.
Don't you love it when you're like, something's not working? What is it? Oh, now I know. And I've written half of it.
Yeah, seriously. I went through for like a good 2 days this week and just like was stuck, and then finally my brain started working out bits and pieces where I'm like, you know what, that should go there.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I not say that before? Because
Yep.
it's stupid to explain that in the moment. The reader is not going to want to stop an action scene for me to be like, here's why this is going on.
Let me pause and tell you all the backstory.
They should probably know how the powers work way before that. So I like inserted a like trial scene where all the heroes are like, let's showcase our powers. And I'm like, yep, this will be great.
I'm in the middle. I'm finally just, I call it revisions, but really it's just a bunch of rewrites and new scenes. But it was that for me. It's like, why didn't I see this is how the story was supposed to go from the beginning? And it would have saved me so much time. I would have actually kind of been done by now. Well, without the swine flu, I probably would have been done by now.
Yeah.
It's just, but it's like, you know what? Stop. I need to stop getting on my case about my process. The story happens the way the story happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need to go with it. And if I stop beating myself up about it, I'll probably actually get it done quite faster because my energy will be spent doing that.
Yeah, I think a quote that you should just tell yourself when you get in that like mindset of like, why didn't I figure this out? Is I forget who the heck said it, but it was somebody who said like no author holds their entire book in their head all at once. So it comes to you in parts because that's just the creative process. So like for us, it's like you hold the finished book and you're like, how in the world did they come up with all that stuff?
Yeah.
And you're like, that was probably months of their brain figuring it out bit by bit and then rearranging it to go where it goes.
I love that. I got to write that down. You're right. That is the perfect quote.
Yeah, so don't beat yourself up too much. That's why George is still writing Game of Thrones. And
my God. He's never finishing that.
Well, I always wonder to a certain degree also is are the are there editors who are going through, like, especially for like big name trad published people like Game of Thrones, is there an editor who is literally only going through and looking for this very specific continuity thread, or like this editor is only doing, because as just the author, like especially Game of Thrones level, like I can't remember who's alive or dead anymore.
Yeah.
Like
If you
Yeah.
want a really interesting author who is a big author, she has a Anne Rice has a bunch of like not really how to's, but she basically takes questions about writing on a bunch
Oh,
of videos. And I found them recently. But one of them, what somebody asked her, like, how much fact checking do you do yourself? And she said, so much fact checking. She goes back and like has to see what she wrote years ago for her series because she sometimes
Oh my
imagines
God.
it differently. And I'm like, I can't even imagine having books from like 35 years ago and
yeah.
have to, like, make sure it's all lined up. So
Why
she
don't you-
showed like she showed a copy of her book with sticky notes sticking out of it.
Oh
And
my
I was
God.
like, oh no.
She's rich enough. Just hire someone to make a world Bible for you. Like seriously.
Pretty
Well, and
much.
I don't mention things like eye color or hair color only comes up if it's very important or
Yeah.
very memorable.
Holy
Otherwise-
shit, you don't. I just have these pictures of these people like, from your book in my head, and I assume that you said they had like blue eyes or some shit.
Yeah, you
Nothing.
don't really have to unless it's really because I think Stephen King also doesn't make a point of saying how people look unless he has a specific thing that he wants you to see, because
Oh my God.
he wants you to just like fill it in yourself.
And part of that is because, can you imagine, like, I'm going back to this series, there's 3 characters that I'm going to revisit, and I haven't written them for a year and a half. I don't remember what they look like. I don't.
I would do that where I was like, was the streak in the hair pink or purple?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I had to go back through like 5 chapters and figure out when I first mentioned her hair color.
And like,
Oh,
I have
wait.
like,
sorry. I just wanted to make aware there's a new sprint scheduled if we want to get in on it. It
Oh.
will start at 25 after the hour.
okay, let me update that.
I can do this one, and then I'll probably have to run away. And
Yeah, I'm thinking the same, actually. I don't want to abandon you, but I have to leave.
a weird window of time when everyone else is eating lunch, and you're like, "Yep." And then all of a sudden, everyone is like, "I'm done now. What are you working on?" And I'm like, "Well, I just got done my lunch, so I'm working on nothing yet."
Franklin hiding in the corner of his office.
Yeah,
Nothing to see here.
it's like, "Oh, please." And if they try to call, you're like, "It's going to be audio only, no video."
Yep.
Which is my disheveled face.
If I can get through 4 more pages, I'll be happy for today. I'm trying to balance, it's end of term, and so what I have to grade for my college students, I've already read 60 something pages this morning of
Oh my gosh.
Good Lord.
plot outline, 2 scenes, reflection, and feedback analytics. And I have to write there on the rubric, there are 17 things I have to comment on.
Holy crap.
Ugh.
I am just admitting that if I get to writing before I go to bed tonight, great. But it needs to be put on the back burner for a few days, unfortunately.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, honestly.
No.
Sometimes life just kind of is like, it's my turn now. That's what
Left,
happened to me yesterday.
So I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to go to bed. Well, I got a few minutes to write. Karen and I banged out like 1,800 words before cutting.
Nice.
Gosh.
I was
That's
like,
amazing.
where did that come from?
Maybe you found your like groove time of
I think my
right before
sleep
bed.
meds had kicked in, and I was like, I'm just gonna stream of consciousness this.
Whatever works, man. All
I'm
right.
gonna
I
hop in the
think
spoon.
me too. See you guys in 20.
Right.
Time's up.
Hooray. Yeah, I think gender swapping one of my characters was a good choice.
Is it going well?
Yeah, I went from having them all seemingly the same to all of a sudden being like, oh, your personality is much better this way. And like the band, I'm trying to write the group as if they have like a lot of banter because they've known each other for a while. So I'm like, this is better. They need someone to put them in their place.
Yeah, my edits are going kind of well. It just, I don't know about you guys, but my editing goes like at a snail's pace compared to what my writing is. So,
yeah.
And that's not even, some of this, the edits are like, add more description.
Yeah, the hard part.
Like, I have my character walking down an alley to an alley to an alley to an alley.
Oh man, alleys are just like the staple of superhero novels. You guys ever notice that? My previous editor was like, "Can we have a different location?" And I was basically like, "No, we can't."
And everything takes place on a sidewalk in a street, and every street is the same street. I do
a lot of fire escapes. A ton. Yeah, every place has fire escapes.
Yep.
Every building in New York has a perfectly placed fire escape.
Yes, it's the truth. It's the truth.
I am glad that some fire marshal was so diligent in his job. Otherwise, my heroes would run to the end of the building and be like, shit. Let's go back downstairs.
That's awesome.
The ladder won't go down, it's rusted.
Well, so my first trilogy, my heroine has this sweet Vincent Black Lightning motorcycle. Oh my God, Google it. It's like, mwah, it's beautiful. And so, because my editor got on my case, like, how are they getting around? Like, you never, like, are they chauffeured? And I was like, okay, fine, I'll give her a motorcycle. Because one of my other guys, he has like a grappling gun. So he shoots up, and the other guy is so strong that he like basically jumps from building to building. So I'm like, all right, I have it all figured out. But this series I'm working on now, my pyrokinesis heroine, I'm like, I really don't want her to have a motorcycle, but I gave her one, and then I made her really bad at riding it. So she like hates the motorcycle. So she doesn't use it. She just runs everywhere.
So my character has the ability to see the future. So basically, they know it's going to happen. They just don't know when. So they just show up and wait. There's a lot of waiting for the future to happen.
That's awesome.
But the thing that annoyed me the most about Arrow was he could be standing in an open football field and do this, and somehow, somewhere up there is something that he swings off of.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Like, and if you actually like applied physics, so even if you shoot a rope that way and it hits something and you go to swing, you're gonna drag along the ground. Like,
yeah, if you've ever watched videos of people trying to go on a rope swing into a lake, it's like, yeah you're not high enough.
Like, that's the Green Arrow's real power, is that
yes.
he can do a rope swing
in an open field. Like, seriously. It was the crossover, and it was actually Barry Allen as the Arrow, the one where they switched bodies. And he did that, and Dan was like, wait. I'm like, what? And he rewinds it, and he's like, they literally just showed us where he's facing, and there's nothing there. for the grappler to hold on to. I was like, well, suspension of disbelief.
So one of the very first Spider-Man, like Web of Shadows or something, it's like an open world and you're in Manhattan. But the opening to it is you're standing in Central Park and you go to like thwip it at something and the web just goes whoosh. And I'm like, man, I'm Spider-Man and here I am running through Central Park. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing to swing off of. And I was, that's real. I appreciate that.
Yeah, those are always the spots where you're like, there are no tall buildings. I need to get out of here quickly, but
Yeah.
it's not helpful.
Where are my tall buildings at?
Oh, look, there's a crane. Hopefully this works.
Exactly.
So, I think it was I can't remember this. The Spider-Man reboot movie 2. Or no, maybe it was movie 1, where all the cranes like perfectly line up, and I was like,
oh yeah.
Why are so many crane operators working at 8 p.m.?
Yeah,
it's dark
or
out now.
Why are there so many cranes, period, in downtown New York? Like, it just feels like a really big insurance nightmare to me, honestly.
And I think about like the person who like, okay, guys, we're going to be working late tonight, but only on the street that perfectly lines up. I want to see that worked into the storyline.
Uh-huh. My question I always had for Dan was, why the hell does anybody live in Gotham? Why? Why do you stay? Why do you invest? Why does anybody do anything in Gotham?
Which is
just leave.
That was something I wish they had dropped into Batwoman. The fact, like, people are like, oh, she's trying to like buy up and revitalize things. They're trapped there because their property values are so bad.
Exactly.
They can't sell.
They can't leave. Exactly. That's the only reason I could think of why there's so many people still in Gotham.
And I want a short story about the real estate person trying to like appraise houses.
And she's in the middle of a show and she's like, we have to leave. There's a super battle across the street. Like, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, like, sorry, ma'am, but your house isn't worth anything. You live next to a chemical plant and it's only a matter of time before a villain gets thrown into that.
We should do an anthology and call it Collateral Damage. And all it is about the people. What?
That's one of Steve's books, Collateral Damage.
You're kidding!
Yeah.
Damn it!
And it's the actual theme is like all the stuff that goes horribly wrong around them.
Oh, somebody's already done it. Of course they have.
I know. Like, damn him for beating it.
That would still be a fun exercise, though. We could do something, I bet, and make it really funny.
And that's one of the reasons why I like having non-super people in the story as well, because sometimes they're like, why are we walking here? Just fly. Why are we being all mundane? Like, you can teleport.
Yeah. Well, and Alice in my first trilogy, like, the guys tried to, like, the guy that's really strong, Lionel, he does try to like jump and stuff with her, and she's like, no, I do not like this. Like, she doesn't like the grappler. She's like, I'm going to stay on the ground. Thank you very much. I have my motorcycle. Like, she's not into it.
my hero that can make plasma uses it to make a grilled cheese. Because,
oh my god,
like, this is the type of stupid stuff. Like, if I had pyrokinesis, I would warm up my coffee right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's so funny because I have my pyrokinetic heroine, like in the book she's introduced, which is the original trilogy, she actually does that.
Yeah.
She's sitting on a cold corner and she's like just keeping her coffee warm because she's cold.
Because let's be honest, the majority of us, we would use our powers for super mundane things.
We would.
Like, again, the reason my character is the chubby dude that he is because he's a teleporter. Like, why
would I run?
Like, right there, I'll just reach through.
I haven't done a teleporter yet.
I wonder.
I have.
We should do a satire of our universes,
That would be fun.
like some sort of like the outlandish, like poke fun at our own.
That would be a blast.
Because, I mean, I basically have a psychic who always has money. There's a mention of hobo fights, and I just kind of left it there.
Oh my god.
Like it. And thankfully, there's another character who's like, "Don't tell me how you got your money. Just no. Whatever you did, it was wrong."
So I don't want to know. Oh, I think I gotta call it, guys.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be out. I should be back. I've been missing so many of the live sprints this week because of work, but I think next week everything kind of goes back to a very mellow reset. So I should be here for noon, same bat time, same bat channel.
Awesome. And you and I are talking at 6 your time, 3 mine today.
Yes.
Okay.
And Franklin, I'll talk to you whenever you want.
Cool enough.
Don't want
You're
to
more-
I'll be missing all weekend like normal because I have to like separate myself from my technology.
Oh, so that's where you go.
Actually, I have to applaud you for that. Technology breaks are not easy in this day and age. Good for you.
It had to happen just because it's like, and it's bad because my family sometimes I see them on Sundays, but sometimes they'll try to like text me ahead of time to be like, hey, don't forget this. And I will just forget to check my messages until I'm like getting in the car. And I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm so glad I looked at my phone.
Absolutely.
I have like 2 devices within arm's reach of me. Like, I'm going to say like 95% of the time, which is probably unhealthy. It is unhealthy, I'm sure.
Yeah. I try to take a break after the kids have gone to bed. I try to take a break from my phone. I don't always succeed, but I try to leave it in the dining room and I go in the TV room so it's not like right next to me. Because otherwise I'll just be surfing the net like all night instead of actually connecting with my husband, like
you can just text him from the other side of the
I'll
couch.
just text him. Yeah, exactly. We do that sometimes when he's upstairs and I'm downstairs. He's like, can you bring me? Da-da-da. I was like, can you just text me from our bedroom? Really? You can't even shout down the stairs?
Well, it's also a way to have a private conversation without your kids hearing it, too.
Yeah, that's true. It helps for Christmas time a lot. Okay, you guys. It was good to see you both.
Going to call it for today. We shall be back on Monday noon. So
yeah, come right with us, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. So then go check out. Ooh, I can even put up the banner. Go check out Superhero Fiction. There are
how many novels do we have now? How many?
354.
Oh my god, that is awesome! And there's even more we still need to add because I found a few, and I'm like, we should probably put these up there.
Yeah, I haven't added Marion's. Once I do that, it'll be up there.
Oh yeah, it'll be close to 400. Damn.
Yup, it never.
All right. So visit superherofiction.com, everybody.
All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.